Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Are there any changes or additions or deletions to the minutes?
We don't have a meeting adjourn time. I don't know if that matters.
We didn't know
I didn't
quite.
note it.
Yeah.
I apologize. I didn't realize I was supposed to do that. I was filling in as the leader last meeting.
I actually
so
meant to get rid of that line.
My apologies.
I don't
was
think
gonna
it
fill in, and I
matters.
meant to get rid of that. Any other comments?
Or if you would spell, please, on the second page,
Second page, I misspelled.
next sentence, Hallowell has two L's.
Oh, yep.
Thank you, Sarah. 2 L's twice, yeah.
Okay, any others? Okay, then pending that spelling change, do I have a motion to, do I have a vote to accept the minutes? Everyone in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. All right, so announcements. So I was asked by someone by the name, I think, of Richard Metz. I don't know, I hear from so many people. I think that's the person. And wants to get the contacts for all, would ask me if I could get the contacts for all of the EACs in Delaware County. And this is about also the plastics, I think. But a couple places I've emailed, of course, typically on their websites, there's no email or contact for the EAC. Does anyone happen to know any? If you do,
I suggest you get in touch with Jim Wiley. He's shepherding Delaware County, and he will have all the contacts and all the emails.
okay.
I'll send you his
Will
email.
you send me his, okay. Okay, thank you. All right. And the second announcement is, I think I mentioned this another time, August 4th is a regional EAC meeting, and they asked me to present about our plastic bag ordinance there, because a number of, I think it's mostly southeast Pennsylvania, will be presenting about their ordinances. So if anyone wants to come and join me, I'll send you the information. It's on Zoom, I think. Yes. So let me know. Does anyone have any other announcements?
I have one. I received an email this week from Jim Schneller, who's the PICO person who helps do the energy audits. And if he gets enough people signed up on any one day, the audits are free. And he was asking, was there going to be a fall festival? And B, was there going to be a way he was volunteering to come? He came last year and he came the year before that, and signs up people in Radnor who would like to have an energy audit. So that's something to think about.
So he wants us to be there in the fall festival, or he just wants to come to the fall festival?
He was asking if the EAC was going to be in the fall festival.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that, have we?
So that's
certainly
mid-September, slightly later maybe.
I think
It's
it's
the 18th.
October,
It's September 18th.
September 8th. Ooh, that's coming up.
Yes, it is. So that's something to talk about.
Okay, well, all right.
And the other is more reporting, because I was working on the Sustainable Pennsylvania. I contacted a friend from Lower Merion who gave me Nancy Winkler, who's the head of EAC for Lower Merion, and she was unavailable until the 8th of August, which was too late for this meeting. So I talked to Bill Saby, who's the shepherd for all of Montgomery County. And Bill knew that our plastic bag ordinance had been introduced. He asked about it. I wrote, Melissa got a copy, sent it to Bill Saby. I have heard from 4 or 5 people since then in Montgomery County who said thank you for the sample ordinance, and they are working on it also. So it's one of the advantages of Dan doing the web connection is to support other townships. There's no use us reinventing the wheel on all of this. So, but it was nice to hear from some of these people and to have them say thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anything else? Okay, so we do have a pretty busy agenda today, and we'll get started then with our first presentation by, should have asked the pronunciation, Kate Simonero. Okay, she has a slide show and about composting.
How do I connect? Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Kate, can you introduce yourself first? Tell us
Yes.
about yourself, who
Yes.
you are. Thanks.
So first of all, thank you for having me. My name is Kate Simonero. I am a rising senior at Radnor High School, and I'm co-president of the environmental club Action Earth. Today, I'll be talking about composting, a concept I'm sure some of you are familiar with, or even better, practice at home. Last summer, I worked with the League of Women Voters on an internship to research composting. It was my first time diving into the topic, and I'm very happy that I did. My goal today is to remind you of the importance of composting as a tool in reducing food waste, and at the same time show you how this process can positively impact homes, schools, communities, and the overall environment. For anyone listening unfamiliar with the topic, I'm going to start with the basics. So, what is compost? Compost is the result of naturally recycling organic matter. Instead of sending our kitchen scraps to a landfill, where it will produce harmful methane gas, we can turn them into useful soil for the environment. As seen in the picture on the right, it becomes a natural fertilizer which can be used in your garden or backyard. So I found this quote, which I think does a nice job of describing the cycle of composting in a simple way. I'll read it for you. Garbage becomes rose, rose becomes compost, everything is in transformation, even permanence is impermanent. This quote helped me visualize the transformative process compost takes as our food scraps can be turned into soil, then used to plant more fruits and vegetables. The main thing to remember is that composting boils down to 2 parts, greens and browns. The greens are all of the nitrogen-rich, wet materials such as fruits, vegetables, garden scraps, and eggshells. They are the items that tend to heat up a compost pile because they help the microorganisms grow and multiply quickly. The browns are all of the dry, dull, carbon-rich materials such as dried leaves, newspapers, shredded paper, tea bags, wood chips, coffee grounds, and filters. A 1-to-3 ratio of greens to browns helps balance the moisture-rich greens with the dry browns and allows for healthy compost to form. So remember, for every 1 scoop of greens, add 3 scoops of browns. For a successful compost bin, it is important to avoid composting a few things. Most importantly, avoid adding any dairy or meat products, as well as fish products, because they can create odor problems and attract pests. If you want to add any yard trimmings, then just make sure there aren't any chemical pesticides which might kill beneficial composting organisms. Now that I went through all the basics, it is important to understand why composting is so impactful. By composting, we can keep food waste out of landfills or incinerators, which is important because 1/4 of landfill waste is made up of food. Wasted food also contributes to 11% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. By diverting food from going to landfills, we can dramatically reduce methane emissions, which are a more powerful warming gas than CO2 over a 100-year time frame. Something else to think about is how the United States wastes 108 billion pounds of food each year. That equates to 130 billion meals and more than 408 billion dollars worth of food being thrown away. Continuing on with the many reasons why composting is beneficial, we can reduce the need for synthetic fertilizer by creating a nutrient-rich topsoil, support environmental equity as landfills are often located in low-income areas. A big one is money can be saved because tipping fees into landfills are based on weight, and remember, 25% of the waste going to landfills is food. Finally, composting is one of the few processes that can turn something harmful like food waste into a valuable resource that can enhance the quality of the environment instead of hurt it. Food waste stems from a handful of different sources. 2% comes from food manufacturers, 16% from farms, 40% comes from restaurants, grocery stores, and other food suppliers, and 43% comes from households, making individual consumers the largest contributors to food waste. So it is clear that we have a large role in whether we want to make a positive or negative impact on the environment. A great question people have when they consider composting is where they should do it. Composting looks different for everyone, so there is no simple answer. It all depends if you have enough space in your yard to start a compost pile, or if you want to get a bin to keep it more contained. If you don't have enough space or time to compost, that's okay too, because there are other options like composting pickup services and community gardens. But first, let's talk about the most basic form of composting, which takes place at home. Composting at home is free and rewarding. During my research last summer, I had the privilege of meeting with 2 Radnor community members to learn about individual composting, Sarah Pillings and Tom Schrodenbach. They each practiced composting at home and openly shared their experiences with me. Both of them emphasized the rewarding simplicity of composting, knowing they were making a difference with a small lifestyle choice. I also practice composting at home because I am lucky enough to have space in my yard and parents that encourage me to take on new projects, even if they might be messy at times. I also enjoy the tangible reward of watching compost forming over time. A place in the heart of Radnor, just behind the Willows Mansion, is Skunk Hollow Community Garden. Last summer, I visited Skunk Hollow and talked to the leader of the garden, Francis DeRoos. This was my first time seeing compost in person, and he happily showed me around the garden. In the first picture, you can see Mr. DeRoos pointing out the different compost piles, and I quickly learned the way Skunk Hollow structures their compost system by using wooden pots to separate the greens, browns, and finished compost. The second picture shows me touching finished compost for the first time. It was dark, crumbly, and smelled earthy. In the third picture, you can see Mr. DeRoos adding more leaves to the compost pile in order to balance it out. Joining a local community garden is a great option if you don't have enough space in your own yard to compost, but are still interested in the process. Skunk Hollow welcomes any Radnor community resident to join, so contact Francis DeRoos if you're interested. During my visit to Skunk Hollow, I also learned that in the open space just to the left of the garden is where all Radnor residents' yard waste is composted, including leaves and Christmas trees. I used to assume that all yard waste went to landfills, but I was happy to find out that Radnor Township actually practices composting in some way. I think that if Radnor ever were to start doing residential compost pickups, Skunk Hollow would be a possible drop-off site, as there is already composting taking place. Mother Compost is a woman-owned composting service that comes every 2 weeks and picks up your bucket of food waste, then takes it to Limvilla Orchards for processing. It was founded in 2018 by Gwen Nolan when she tried composting at home while pregnant with her 3rd child, but quickly found it overwhelming, understandably so. When she tried looking for a composting service on the main line, she realized there was none, so she started her own called Mother Compost. A local composting service is a great option if you're interested in reducing your food waste and carbon footprint, but don't have the time or space to compost at home. Mother Compost also gives you the option to receive up to 60 pounds of mature compost in the spring to sprinkle throughout your garden or backyard. Limvilla Orchards is over 300 acres of land located in Media Township, which is less than 30 minutes away from Radnor. Visiting Linville Orchards last summer was very exciting for me because this is one of the largest composting sites on the main line. As I mentioned on the last slide, this is where Mother Compost processes their food scraps. I was able to talk to Chris Pieretti, who is founder of Kitchen Harvest, which is a family-owned business that runs the composting section of Linville Orchards. They made this, He is one of the drivers who goes around and picks up residential and commercial food waste to turn it back into compost at Linville Orchards. So starting in July of last year, neighboring Mediaborough Township began offering a food scraps collection program to all their residents. The program gives residents the opportunity to separate food from the rest of their household waste for collection and composting at Linville Orchards. They made this fun informational video I'm going to try playing right now.
2 grams of this newly discovered bacteria restores damaged teeth and gums. Most people continue.
Gotta get a bucket.
Yo, Chris, what's in the yellow bucket?
What, you don't got a bucket, Chris?
Nah.
Oh, you gotta get a bucket.
What's it for?
Food scraps?
Food scraps?
Yeah, for compost.
What's that?
Oh, compost, it's the greatest. I put all my food scraps in there. The borough comes and takes it away, turns it into soil.
Oh, kind of like yard waste, like the big brown bags?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, it's better for the environment, and we don't send as much garbage to the incinerator.
No way.
Yeah, I only put my trash out once a week now.
Get out of here.
Here's what you do. You go get a bucket, you stick it by your trash cans, and every time you eat, you take your cooking scraps and your unwanted leftovers and you put them in there.
Whoa. Every time I eat, I gotta go outside now?
Some people keep the bucket inside, or they put a sealed container on their counter and wait till it fills up.
That ain't so bad.
Yeah, I compost all the kinds of stuff that would make my garbage stink.
Yo, how about pepperoni pizza?
Nope, no meat or cheese.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, but now you can take your greasy pizza boxes and put them out with your yellow compost bucket.
Nice. What else?
You can compost veggie scraps, eggshells, fruit scraps, tea bags, coffee filters, bread, grains, grass clippings, and pizza boxes. But no meat, cheese, bones, fish, or plastic. You got that?
Not really.
That's okay. They give you a reminder card to stick on your fridge until you get the hang of it.
Yo, where can I get this bucket at?
Borough Hall. You do know where Borough Hall is.
Yeah, it's around here somewheres.
Well, what are you waiting for? Go get your bucket.
Gotta get a bucket. Gotta get a bucket. Gotta get a bucket. Gotta get a bucket. Gotta get a bucket. Get a bucket. Gotta get a bucket. Gotta get a bucket. Gotta get a bucket. Drum break. Oh yeah. Let's do this. Gotta get a bucket. Gotta get a bucket. Gotta get a bucket.
I got mines.
How do I get back to my slides? There we go. I got it. Thank you. Okay. So with Mediaborough as a great example, Radnor Township has a chance to consider following in their footsteps. Even if that means just educating community members on ways to reduce food waste or spreading awareness on composting, that's better than nothing. A reason I think Radnor might consider composting is because it would save money. Food is the single largest contributor to municipal landfills in the United States. The 2 graphs, which I pulled from Radnor 2022's board-approved budget, shows that since late 2020, tipping fees of trash and recycling have grown by $300,000 annually. By encouraging the community to compost, Radnor would not only help the environment, but also save lots of money by diverting the largest contributor to municipal landfills. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something new today and will consider talking to your family, friends, and neighbors about composting. I think it's a great way to combat climate change at home, and I would like to wrap things up by asking if you guys have any ways that I or Radnor High School's Action Earth can help support you guys and like in pushing composting. So if you guys want to get back to me now or after.
Thank you very much. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Does anyone have comments or questions? I just think that, you know, this is something we could certainly discuss in our next agenda. And if it's near and dear to anyone's heart, they want to take this on, that would be great, yeah. We've thrown this around before, but never seriously, but now you've guilted us into it.
I agree. That was a great presentation. I actually had come across this last night when I was looking at the media plastic bag ordinance. The article also mentioned that this had recently been passed in media, and I think it's a great idea. I think it would be a really good addition to our, our already, excellent yard waste pickup program. And that video was really helpful, made it look easy. I didn't realize that pizza boxes would be part of that, because I always feel very guilty not being able to recycle my pizza boxes that have grease on them. So that's also definitely something I learned today. But the whole presentation was really great. I would definitely be interested in talking more with you and speaking, looking further into this and how we can help get this implemented on a Radnor-wide scale. That would be great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll put this on the agenda for sure. Just one little sort of personal question. You can put bread in the composting? I've never done that.
Yes, you can, as long as it's not dairy or meat.
Okay,
you
because
can put
I thought
bread in.
that you shouldn't have salt, and bread has salt, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
you
in
can.
these big composting and the big composting piles, even with Mother Compost, they actually accept dairy products too. So I use Mother Compost, and you can send dairy products. Yeah.
Well, the truth of it is, from some talking to people that I've done over the years, Radnor used to collect the food waste. And so it could be instituted again. A piece for Moira, just so you know it. The guy, because I was fortunate enough to go with Kate last year to see it at Linville Orchard. All it needed was a front end loader and a pile of leaves. And we asked how long the food would be recognized in a pile. And they said within 3 days it had been incorporated in the pile once you turn it in. So it would mean the buckets in order to get it there. It was a very interesting process. And we talked about pests. And the only known pests that Linville has had has been foxes who have dug holes into the pile to take some of it. Linville uses, for the lease of the land, to, what's his name, Chris. Linville takes half the end product, and that's what they're top dressing all their orchards with now. And incidentally, they've started an orchard of fig trees. We saw those last year too. It really is up and coming. And I just gave to Kate another business that has started collecting food waste. So it certainly is a viable option. I'd be very interested in working on it also.
Kate, can I ask, did you, or maybe some of us, can also gather more information about the financial commitment that media had to make? Did you find any of that in your research?
I would have to look more into that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of just focusing on it as like an example near us.
Sure.
So yeah, I would love to do more research on that and get back to you guys.
No, they did a pilot project for a year to see whether this really would happen. I don't know how they selected the people or whether it was volunteered, but they did a year's study before they decided, and apparently it was very, very well supported by the community.
That's great. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay. So our next presentation will be by Roberta Winters from the League of Women's Voters, and it's about their resolution on climate.
Again, thank you for having me here. I'm Roberta Winters. I'm past president of the League of Women Voters, and I feel like a proud mother because I worked with Kate on this project, and she basically took off like a jet plane, and we're very delighted to have capable young people working with the League of Women Voters doing internships every summer. So we hopefully might hear some more. The term climate change fails to characterize what we see happening before our eyes. Extreme weather events, horrific forest fires, declining ocean ecosystems, species extinction, increasing food and water insecurity, virulent infectious diseases, and more. Doom and gloom await all of us if we do not mobilize to change our behavior, as well as curb and/or remove carbon emissions. Residents in Radnor and throughout the world must do more than say the right words. They must do the right things to avert or mitigate the deterioration of our planet. This climate emergency, be it flood, fire, drought, and inclement weather, disproportionately impacts those who are most vulnerable. We are in a dangerous situation that requires immediate action. So let's call it what it is. It's a climate emergency. So I'd like to read to you the resolution that was passed by our national convention in the last month. And I gave each of you a copy in case you want to refer to it later. Whereas an environmental condition adversely affecting Earth and its inhabitants, once referred to as climate change, has advanced to become a climate emergency, including ocean acidification, damage to marine ecosystems and food sources, and a rise in sea levels resulting in flooding and the displacement of coastal businesses and residences. Extreme weather events, including extremes of temperature, as well as increasingly devastating storms and wildfires, causing harm to America's agriculture, forestry, and tourism industries. Adverse impacts on human health, as well as the introduction of new vectors for infectious disease, and species extinctions and related threats to biodiversity, which accompanying grave impacts on food and water security, economic security, and social and emotional well-being. And whereas the world's leading climate scientists predict that the climate crisis will catastrophically intensify if public action is not taken through public policy and legislation to curb emissions and remove atmospheric CO2 through natural and technological sequestration, and whereas the climate crisis disproportionately afflicts the most vulnerable among us, members of indigenous nations, people of color, rural and coastal communities, and low-income households in general, all of whom have fewer resources to cope with common consequences of climate change, such as property damage, displacement, job loss, and health problems. And whereas prompt and robust mobilization of civil society, acting in concert with all levels of government to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions is necessary to avert or even to mitigate the progressive and increasingly catastrophic deterioration of Earth's environment, and with it, massive social disruption. Therefore, it was resolved that the delegates of the local Leagues of Women Voters at the 2022 LWV National Convention called upon the board and all of you to urge our state and local governments to adopt and publicize this declaration of climate emergency appropriate to your local conditions and take appropriate actions to implement declarations of climate emergency. So, while these words may be highfalutin and symbolic, the timing is perfect for me to implore you to use your advisory capacity to provide feedback to the commissioners and township staff. Review the agenda items to see what types of vehicles are being purchased. Work with other environmental groups to pursue their goals and support energy audits for our institutions, our businesses, and homes. Consider policies to reduce carbon emissions, promote conservation, and advocate their adoption in our community, county, state, and nation. Fully support and look for guidance from the recently developed sustainability initiatives in Delaware County. We can operate as if this is business as usual in Radnor Township. Listen to our young people like Kate and the others from the Green Team. Use groups like that high school Earth Action Team to energize your efforts. Institute plans to reduce food waste and other trash, which you've heard about this evening. As the saying goes, we need to use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have comments or questions on this? So, yeah, I mean, the Green Team has certainly made some headway on, things like the energy proposals, the audits and so forth. Something that you proposed here about declaring a climate emergency, in a local way, I mean, that's something we could look at, something to have, like, on the website, or, yeah. So if you, have some, if you have some concrete things you would like to see us do, I would, like to hear from you either now or in email. I know you can tell us now, and, we can follow up on it.
I was just pleased to see the president of the Board of Commissioners here, the chairperson, and I thought, it would be nice if the commissioners might consider doing a similar resolution, because I know what we've experienced in the last few weeks is just the beginning. Thank you.
Right, well, we're fortunate to have as our liaison, the president of the board, so that works out nicely. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we'll follow up on it. Yeah. Next is the plastic bag ordinance. And we want to discuss next steps. Just a reminder that it was presented to the Board of Commissioners. It was basically received positively. There was a discussion about whether to charge for the paper bags that would be given instead, but that proposal to remove the fee for the paper bags was voted down by the board, and they will be taking this up again at one of the next meetings, I'm not sure which yet, for a vote. Lisa has been collating all the various local and not so local ordinances as to what they charge. So perhaps when this comes up for a vote, we could present that information, because I don't think we need to do the presentation all over again, but present extra information. Yeah, so does anyone have suggestions for other next steps before the vote? Also, Melissa or Moira?
I don't have any suggestions for next steps, but I was in Philadelphia yesterday and the day before, and I stopped at the Dollar Tree and was given, in the city, and was given a plastic bag that is about 3 times thicker than any other regular plastic bag that I've been given anywhere. I actually had my reusable bag, but then I was like, oh, I need to have that as an example. So I meant to bring it today. I just want to make sure again that our ordinance wouldn't essentially allow for this like loophole of extra thick bags that would count as reusable. I think that we have dealt with that through the explanation of the manufacturing.
That's why I originally had the thickness in there. And then I think it was Penn Environment or somebody said it's just making it too complicated. I don't know, do we want to put the thickness back in there?
No, I think it's actually good that we just describe the manufacturing process, because they're making them thicker than.
Is that in the Philadelphia ordinance? Do you know?
I don't know.
That would be good to know.
It would, but I think what they're doing essentially is making the stores are just buying thicker plastic bags and saying they're reusable, but people are still just going to throw them away. because they're still just a plastic bag. It says on it, like, reuse me or recycle me, use me 125 times. Nobody is going to use their Dollar Tree bag 125 times.
There was no
So-
charge for it?
No.
Well, yeah, so Philadelphia had considered a 15-cent fee for what should be, paper bags or non-single-use plastic bags, and then that was removed before it was passed. So
Yeah.
there is no incentive on the part of the consumer other than, environmental
Yeah.
sustainability, reasonings to not choose that. The way that our ordinance is currently drafted has to do with, the blown, the extrusion, process.
Yeah.
It's the process by which it's made. I don't know if those really thick plastic bags are made that same way, so that's something I guess we need to figure out. My guess is that our ordinance language probably covers that, but we can check with Penn Environment if they were the ones that told us we don't need the thickness.
Yeah.
The representative from Penn Environment actually did reach out to Margie and me a couple days ago, just saying that he saw that it had, our ordinance had moved forward and asking if we had any questions. So this would be a good question. I can ask him if he knows if this definition would cover those. And they're in Philadelphia, so he would probably know that.
Yeah, I did at a couple other stores see similar things. So that was a little disappointing to see that there had been workarounds already to it.
Yeah, that's very disappointing to hear.
And I know that I've already been asked by retailers in the community about their alternative bags.
All right, I think that's a really important thing. I think also the fact that Philadelphia doesn't have a fee at all really does disincentivize bringing your bags and just, doesn't make people think twice about grabbing those bags no matter what they're made of or how thick they are. So I did compile a list, as Margie said. Almost all of the Pennsylvania townships that have adopted a plastic bag ordinance has the same 10-cent minimum that we are proposing. Easttown has 15 cents, which is a little bit higher. And then there's a couple like Philadelphia and the one that just passed in media where there is no fee on a bag that is distributed, like a paper or reusable bag. And I did pull a lot of studies showing, to support Moira's excellent point at the commissioners' meeting the other night, that there really is a psychological impact of knowing that you're facing, even if it's only a 10-cent fee, it does really encourage people to remember to grab their bags from home before they go to the store. So hopefully that kind of support will help, just make it clearer, why we drafted this the way that it is and why it would be helpful. But we can definitely look into that. I think that's a good idea, just to double check before this goes forward. And we don't have a date, I guess, for when it's coming up again next.
I'm going to hope to get it on the August agenda, but haven't yet seen what that looks like. It'll just depend on other issues. But I don't see any reason it wouldn't go forward just at the next meeting, the 17th. I forgot the exact date.
I think it's the 12th, actually.
Is it the
maybe
12th?
is,
We
or
have
at least that's-
one meeting in August, not two.
So maybe.
So the agenda's due 15th, August 15th.
Oh, the 15th.
What is the date? What is the date? What?
August 15th. And then
Thank you.
come September, we go back to twice a month meeting. So if we can't fit it on August, I will get it as soon as I can in September.
Is there anything else that it would be helpful for us to provide for you in advance of that meeting?
I think the issues that you've raised are really important. I know the thick bags that you're referring to, I believe larger corporations have just gone that route, since it's, it probably qualifies in most jurisdictions that are allowing it. So I would be very interested in finding out how to describe those, and go in a different direction. So that information would be helpful. I think the fee, I saw the list of fees that you gathered. I think that's very helpful. That was an issue that was raised by the commissioners, but I think you ultimately we won them over on the issue. So I think we're in good shape. It was well received. I do want to take this opportunity to say thank you all so much. The effort that you put into it and the quality product that you brought forward to the board makes it a lot easier for us to address the issue and come to a positive vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you for advancing it. There was one other question I had that came up when I was looking at the ordinance that media recently adopted. They have a provision in their ordinance that the township would contribute monetarily toward the signage that's required by their ordinance, which is similar to ours, that, you know, there has to be signage up and ahead of the enforcement of the prohibitions, just stating, you know, that the establishment will no longer be distributing single-use plastic bags after a date certain. Is that, and I just wanted to raise that to see if that's something we wanted to float with the board, if people think that might be helpful to defray business costs. I don't know if, you know, I think our ordinance currently doesn't really say where the signs are, you know, who's paying for the signs, and maybe the businesses don't care and they can just put up a little paper flyer that doesn't cost much. But I just wanted to raise that. I don't know why media included it, but we hadn't discussed it, so.
I don't know that has to be in the ordinance. No. Something we can bring up after it's passed. Yeah.
I think there's an appetite for creating a campaign to raise awareness, and with that, I would imagine that there could be a downloadable PDF on the website. It would not expend any, I would not attach resources required by the township for this ordinance, but I do think that the township will put some effort behind it to make sure that there's an educational campaign, and that if a business would like to download something, that would probably be the route before printing and dropping things off to businesses. So at least that would be a starting point to see if that's effective.
Agreed. I think that's a good solution.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Are there any members of the public that wanted to speak on this?
Yeah, Dan Burnham. This is the first I've heard about the non-reusable heavy gauge plastic bags, as some companies substituting them. Certainly, you see them in non-food merchants offering for clothing and housewares, a plastic bag. But I'm concerned about grocery stores. Does the ordinance actually require that they replace their plastic bags with paper, or they have the possibility of providing a reusable, quote-unquote, bag?
So we're not requiring them to replace it with anything. They can have paper bags available, but there's a fee for them.
Okay.
So, yeah, they'll have, if they want, they can have paper bags available. They can also sell reusable bags, you know, probably at a higher price than 10 cents.
Right.
And, but there's no requirement that they have an alternative.
Okay,
If they wish, they can have nothing, you know.
Right. That sounds good. If the paper is cheaper than the reusable plastic bag.
It's not. It's
Oh.
not. Oh, then a reusable, yeah.
Yes,
Then a
yes. So
reusable,
the
yeah.
merchant will not be inclined to ignore paper.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that leaves the non-food merchant still favoring the reusable plastic. How to prevent that or reduce that?
Yeah, I think that's what we were actually talking about
Yeah.
earlier, is Lisa and Margie are going to check with Penn Environment to make sure that our ordinance would keep people from distributing, quote, reusable plastic bags that are not truly like a cloth or like poly blend reusable bag, but just a thicker plastic bag.
Right.
So that's what we're gonna follow up
Right,
on.
and the fee will also help deter that a little bit, yeah. Thank you. Anything else? then we'll move on. So our next item is the clean energy representative. Last meeting, the discussion of proposing a resolution for the board was put forth, but since then, we found out that a resolution is not necessary for the board to adopt, that we can simply, the EAC can simply vote to name a green team member as our representative to the PA Clean Energy website, who this member would contribute to the website. And, yeah, so we don't have to have the resolution. So the person would communicate all entries and initiatives with at the PA Clean Energy with the EAC, who will approve it. So this will be a mutual, back and forth, but basically it's the green team member that will be doing the actual work. So I want to, have to make a motion to do this vote, but first, well, maybe we can make the vote first, and then we can discuss how this communication approval process will go. So I move that, just another little aside, Dan Burnham, who just spoke and who is here, he has applied for an EAC membership. He's had an interview, and the only next step is just the board approval. So hopefully by next meeting, he will be, one of our members. And it would be, Dan that would be that green team member that will do this. But obviously, if Dan no longer wants to do this or steps down or whatever, by having this vote, we'll always be able to name. So we're not voting for Dan, we're voting for a green team member to be this representative. So I'd like to move that we appoint a green team member as our representative to the PA Clean Energy Initiative website. And do I have a second to the motion? Okay. Is there discussion?
No, I'm in favor.
I'm in
Okay.
favor.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion has passed. Yeah, so maybe this is something we should just discuss, maybe like Dan and I could discuss or something. We do need to talk about, when something is uploaded onto the website, how to go about communicating or getting approval. Does this have to be a formal approval, like with a vote, or do maybe just one of us looks at it and says, okay, yeah, I'm not sure how we're going to do this.
I wouldn't make it terribly complicated.
I'm just, I just want to know what we're supposed to do. Yeah. So maybe at each meeting, that you attend of our meetings, you could just give a report as to what, you're planning on doing. And then we can, if anyone has suggestions, changes, objections, then they can be voiced. Would that work? Yeah. Okay.
I think Robin has something she wants to say.
Okay, Robin.
Robin Mann, 266 Beachwood Drive in Rosemont. I think what's going to work well is to have Dan representing Radnor in a way that he can use his judgment, because a lot of it is going to be building out the website and, gathering resources, seeing what's going to be the most useful for municipalities. So the least resistance in the process, I think, is going to make it easier for him to really serve in the role. It's just the one point I wanted to make.
Yeah, I don't think we need to, I don't think there's the intention to approve every single data point, but I think it would be good to have an update during the monthly meetings about what has been put on the website.
Thank you.
Melissa, does this sound in order?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that Dan should also work with the township. You can work with me directly with any information you're going to be putting on the site. We just wanted to, get our eyes on it before we say okay.
Yes. Yeah, I think the first checkpoint for anything I propose to put on the website or change would be the green team members themselves. I'd like to have it cleared through them and then brought to the general EAC's attention. And then there's always the steering committee, which will be created from the various municipalities who are members of the website that will have final approval of the addition. So there's a lot of a lot of checks and balances.
Okay, thank you. You have a handout on Sustainable Pennsylvania Community Certification, and Sarah Pilling will present about this. She mentioned it before. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Well, when I joined the EAC 4 years ago, the board at that time was just finishing up applying and doing documentation for Radnor Township to be on the Sustainable Pennsylvania Community Certification. I sent this one-page handout to all the EAC members. So for Roberta and for Kate and her twin, the municipal certification, and it is municipal, it's not a committee, is a platform for demonstrating excellence, accelerating the policy and practice of good government. It's recognized the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development and is considered when they are reviewing municipal funding applications. So it's all volunteer, doesn't cost a dime, just takes time and labor to do it. So I knew it was done, and I knew that Radnor achieved silver certificate, which is the third from the lowest. It goes associate, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. I looked at the list last week. Middletown Township, for instance, is in the platinum level. And I knew at the time, this happened at a time when Robin and I were working to just get the resolution passed for Ready for 100. And we knew and acknowledged at that time that we could go far above a silver rating by adding things. So I had sent you all the list of categories that can be done, and there are a lot. And so I printed out Radnor's silver certificate. It's mostly they either get 1, 2, or 3 points on it. And so one would think it would be easy to include what we've done in the last 4 years and upgrade it. But there's a wrinkle in this, which I have discussed with Melissa. Now she's gone. And Melissa, it has to be any communication with the Sustainable Pennsylvania certification has to be done on the municipal level, so that I couldn't do it. But when the township changed the website and changed the vendor, they broke all the links from Sustainable Pennsylvania, so that every one of these, and I can't really show it to you, it says item 1 under municipal operations is professional staff are employed or retained in areas of budgeting and finance. They got 1 point, and then there's a little category that says yes, and if you clicked on it, you went to the link. But now it goes to, that link is not there, or it's, so we have to talk to Sustainable Pennsylvania to somehow get this whole thing rebuilt. So it's still a theoretical model. It was something, I thought it would be a piece of cake, because we could just throw in everything that's happened since then, the stormwater work that's being done, the work that's being done on South Wayne Avenue, the Ready for 100 resolution, the contract, the report. It would be easy. It is not as easy as I thought, because this website was changed with a new vendor. So it'll be something to work on in the future. It's nothing we, the EAC, can work on right now, except that Melissa knows that I'm concerned about it. She's communicated with Pennsylvania Sustainability. She's received no word back, but she's going to continue to try to follow it up. It means a lot of work on someone's part, but I think that's between management of the township and this institution. But if money's coming down from the feds and money's coming down from the states, it seems to me that this is a very timely time to put some pressure on to get this back in functioning, so that we can add these things, get ourselves up to a gold or a platinum level, because it will help the township as a municipality be eligible for more money coming down. So that's the report. You can go and look it up, and you can see everything that Radnor's done. It's in very small font, and I have 4 pages of things that they've obtained, but we can't use it right now because the website doesn't work.
So, Sarah, you said Melissa's following up on this?
Because I can't contact Sustainable Pennsylvania.
Okay.
She can as a member of the management of the township, and she's going to keep after them. So we try and resolve this problem. Once we get the problem resolved and get it really functioning again, we can begin to add things to it and raise the rating. And it's really just identifying the things that have happened and reporting on it. I mean, one of the issues we have is we don't know what the password is.
Excuse me?
We do not know what the password to get access to the website is. So it's sort of at 6s and 7s, but I will follow up with this, because I think it's very important that we do this not only for the township, but to stimulate the township to be doing more. Will identify areas where the township can make steps, because it all comes down to money in the end. So there it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Okay. We'll follow up on the follow-up then. Hopefully. Any other comments on that?
No, thank you. It sounds like a good idea. And hopefully it's not going to be that much work once you get through the technology hurdles.
Right. Okay. Next is update on yard signs. So, Ian, if you could project the yard sign thingy. Okay. Oh, it didn't come up. So my daughter just put together this. So it would be a yard sign, like a flag, which would be kind of, maybe people would like that, a little classier. And she knows places where they can be printed fairly reasonably. So I will send, she just did this, so I didn't have time to send this on. I can send you, this to look at in the email, and, let me know what you think. The problem isn't this sign or, printing it or anything else. The problem is, of course, 2 things. the financing it, and then also how do we, to whom, and how do we distribute this? One thought I had was that we could put the announcement on the website and say, if you feel you have an environmentally friendly yard, please apply, contact, EAC, and, let us know, and we'll check it out. The other thing we could do when we see a really environmentally friendly yard, which I'm seeing more and more of, is to, knock on the door and ask the people if they want a sign. Anybody have any other thoughts or suggestions about this?
I think we need to do a pretty strong educational process before we start inviting people. So we've got to let the township know, and, that's the issue of communication. I don't know how many people read the website, go on the website
Right.
as a general
So-
matter.
So how do you propose we get this educational?
That is the dilemma.
Yeah.
I think
Well, the Channel 21, which isn't called Channel 21 anymore, still puts out programming, so it could be an interview process with a few pictures to show people. I mean, I would just love to see people stop using herbicides on their lawns.
Margie, is it possible for us to have like a working meeting about this, like with a few of us or something? I just feel like it requires a lot more discussion than we
Well,
probably have
this,
time for
I mean,
today.
the award itself is kind of educational. That's the point. People see kind of a shaggy yard with lots of plantings that they thought, oh, this yard's messy and not nice. And then they see, well, no, this is a good yard. So this is actually an educational effort in itself. It's like a picture is worth 1,000 words.
I thought we had discussed, and I liked this idea, kind of making it like a contest, and you could have the educational outreach be part of the announcement, that we have 50 of these yard signs. If you would like to win an environmentally sustainable yard award, here are the 10 things that we're looking for. If you can check at least 5 of these boxes, let us know, and whoever, will award, whoever can tick as many of these boxes. And all of those, each box would be something that we're looking for. And, I think social media is probably the best way to get the word out. Like, I don't even have cable. I don't know that TV would be, I don't think it's going to attract enough people, but, as long as we're, whatever we're allowed to do, this is a question for Melissa, is, what advertisement can we do for this, and what is the best way to get the word out? But I think just emails, along with our, when the township sends out our minutes, it could be in there. I don't know if anybody reads that, but, I think any online targeting is probably the best way to get the word out. And then once we do the initial 50 or whatever signs, then people will start seeing them, and then we could do another round of it, and, we could educate people by having the signs out there. And I think the sign is great. My only recommendation is maybe make the yellow a little bit brighter so that people will be able to read it more clearly from the street. But I think it's great.
It didn't come out.
Yeah, but I think it's great, and thank your daughter for putting that together.
Yeah, I think maybe Lisa, this was before you joined with us when we talked about the lawn contest previously, and we've had a lot of discussion about the advertisement through socials and met some barriers there. So that's why I think it would be great if we could have a sub-meeting with Melissa to see what's possible, and then also talk about how we would propose getting funding for these, because if they're not open to that at all, I don't want to spend 10 more hours of our time again working on this if we don't have access to socials, and if we don't have even the potential to get a small budget for it. But if they were open to this, it's also something we could use for the Radnor Fall Festival, because we don't really have a budget for that either. And it's so hard to get somebody to stop at your table unless you have something for people. We learned that last year. I was harassing people practically. So that's something else we need to
We
talk about.
dragged them off the street.
But yeah, I would be interested to hear from Melissa about how we would go about talking about a budget and what our access to socials could be.
Yeah, the fall festival thing is a great idea. I don't know that we have time for it, for this fall festival, if it's in September. That might be something we have to work on over the year and then have it ready for next year. Or hopefully we'll come up with some other things before then. Yeah. Do any members of our public have any suggestions?
Dan Burnham again. I'm new to this. Just one thing is, can you say that a environmentally friendly yard is either cheaper to maintain or less work intensive? That would be a major selling point.
Absolutely, and it probably would be both, for sure.
I was wondering if you might work with something like the Radnor Conservancy on this and do it together.
Good idea.
Sometimes there may be other groups that you could work in coalition with that would help provide perhaps some of the funding if that was needed.
Good idea, thank you. And they actually have money.
For the social media side of it, I know the Radnor Conservancy has an Instagram. Also, Action Earth, which is the Radnor High School Club, also has a big Instagram, so we would be happy to share it there, or anything else like that.
Part of it is, I'll just be honest here, is we haven't had permission to share things on the behalf of the EAC. So regardless of even our access to the township's channels, that's still standing in our way. But I appreciate that, and I do follow you guys on Instagram. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think if we could get the language approved, we don't necessarily have to use our social media, but if we could release a PDF or something, and then share it, and then they can share the PDF, then, it's not really us posting on social media, but we can, get it out to if the high school network, that would get a lot of families and homes notified. That would be really awesome.
We could put signs around the school too.
Thanks, that would be great.
Anything else? Are there any other updates or reports? I did want to say that Ray is not here to update us about the student ambassador, but he had sent us an email about it. We could just agree to have a student ambassador. Do we have to vote on this? And Ray's working on this. I'm not sure what the proper protocol for this would be. We just have a mutual agreement that we would like a student ambassador.
If we want to vote on it, we can. We have a quorum, so we can just do it.
Sarah?
I suppose that we'd have to check with Moira and Melissa, but I don't see why. I think it would be good to have a student ambassador.
I think they've already said yes.
Yes.
They've already said that it's okay.
So just, let's do it.
Yeah, I think that they had said that because it wouldn't require funding, and they would not be the student ambassador would not be a voting member.
They can do
They
it.
don't need, we don't need the extra bureaucracy.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion that the EAC have a student ambassador to join us, a non-voting student ambassador.
Second.
Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Nay? Nays? Okay. All right, the motion passed, and we'll let Ray know. Any other old business?
I
Is
don't know
there
if this is old business, but do we want to talk about the fall festival now? or it's just if it's coming up fairly soon. I think it was great. I became a member after having met you at the Fall Festival last year, so I definitely support our involvement. That's pretty close to my due date, but I'm guessing I'll maybe be able to be there, but I can't 100% commit, so I don't know what other people can do.
Yeah, last year we had a plan quite ahead of time. Let me even see the availability of tables at this point. And
The township provided the table.
yeah, they did, yeah. And we have to do some quick planning.
Do we have an August meeting?
Yeah, we do have an August meeting, yeah. But I think we'll have to kind of do things in between to facilitate that. So, okay. All right, so any further public comment?
Robin, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, I might follow up on the point regarding funding for township projects of various kinds, and just in relation to the climate emergency issue. One of the top priorities for the Green Team and implementing the Renewable Energy Conservation Plan is for the township to conduct an assessment of the municipal facilities. And I guess I just wanted to note, while yes, it's possible to wait until grant funding is available, it's also the case that it's clear that from assessments that have been done, the PICO billing, that there's a huge opportunity for the township to recoup the costs of an assessment in the energy savings work that they would initiate right away. So the Green Team is just anxious for them to take this step, and also to note that it has a tremendous, sort of demonstration project value in terms of educating the town, community residents to see the township, doing an assessment and seeing how they can make some major systems changes that'll be saving energy and saving money. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And to just reinforce what Robin said, that shows a real commitment to the climate emergency we're experiencing.
Okay, thank you. Any others?
I just have one quick related-ish note that I think we had discussed at one point that we should have one of our line items in these meetings be kind of a unofficial, official update from the Green Team.
Yeah, we usually do.
Yeah, which I don't think we officially had, although
No,
we
we
have
didn't.
obviously some
Yeah.
members tonight. I just want that to get back on the agenda moving forward, because I feel like we don't always know exactly what's been going on with the Green Team, and
Right.
it's so helpful when we can get those updates. So I just want to make sure that we get that back on the agenda, and that there's a point person from the Green Team who can, I think hopefully that'll happen, but.
Right, well, we usually have Sarah, and I guess because Sarah was giving this one, it didn't occur to me to ask for other stuff. Yeah.
That's fine.
Do you have any additional ones you want to share with us?
We just want the municipality to do this energy assessment. And the question is how to catch their eye, and with September's, at least the second meeting in September, they begin the budget work. And we need to somehow get a budget line item to pay the person's business, whatever it is, the entity, to do this energy audit, because they're not going to do it for free. Speak to your commissioners. If it doesn't come from the residents, I don't think it's going to happen.
Has the Green Team provided what it would cost to the board, like given
We don't.
estimate?
Robin might know.
Well, we provided to the township staff, they requested a sample RFP. key elements are kind of, they have to be generated by the individual township, because it's like square footage and basic, parameters that you need in order to get an estimate. So
Okay.
we know that there are firms that are, poised to do this kind of work and doing it in other locations. But it is a question of the township actually deciding to make the inquiry.
Sure, so maybe the next step is to provide a list of firms that are available?
We have provided that to the
Okay.
township.
They would do an RFP.
They
for
do
this.
it.
I think
They'd
they-
No,
send-
it's just a way to, I understand the RFP process, it's just a way to like remind them,
Yeah.
that it
Well,
needs
they,
action.
they have a list of firms
Okay.
that have done it. The
Okay.
issue is, what Radnor does is they put their RFPs through the pen process. And you sort of wait to see what firm will do it for how much.
Sure.
So there is no, we're going to pay $30,000. That's not how it works. It goes through the pen bid process. So we have provided all that information in the past. It's just a question of getting the township off of square one.
Well, and we'll be circling back with them in our next, Green Team meeting with them. So we'll be trying to encourage it, but it is a good point that we need to be prepared for recommending a budget,
Ballpark figure, anyhow.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, this was brought up, like that meeting that I was at with,
Been brought up numerous times. Yeah. But it's summer in Radnor right now. So
All right, thank you.
I want to get a picture of you with Marjorie, is that all right? Marjorie, do you mind if